Welcome back, everyone. It's another edition, another episode of Football Fan Zone. And as usual, I have Uzo here with me. What's good? What's good, bro?
Doing okay. Can't complain. Life
Yeah,
is good these days. How you doing, man?
yeah, doing good, doing good. I'm feeling a little better after the Arsenal loss, but one hell of an episode. The last episode was crazy. You got some comments thrown at you from some Arsenal fans. That was really interesting. Yeah, I feel like all the things you said on the last episode was kind of backed up today by today's performance. Yeah, so I think the best place to start is the Arsenal versus Liverpool game at the Emirates. Of course, ended 2-0. Very very funny game because Arsenal dominated for most parts of the game. Liverpool looked really shaky, especially 10-15 minutes into the game. You thought, oh, this was going to be one of those days where Arsenal were going to roll them over, but it was just kept getting more difficult for us now. And yeah, I think we should just start by the goal scoring chances Arsenal had. I saw a stat where they said in 3 games they've had 61 shots and only one goal from 61 shots. I know we spoke in parts of the last episode about a striker. If it's a striker problem, or they just need more from their guys, or is it the coach? Another thing that I saw today, I saw a double pivot of Jorginho and Declan Rice. I thought that was interesting as well. I felt like that was a new way to go. Parts of the first half, it really looked good. But I just wanted to hear your take on the game overall. Where is it going wrong for Arsenal at the minute? Do they still need to sign a striker? Because that seems to be the notion now. I saw, obviously, the legendary Ian Wright tweeting, "We need a killer." But yeah, where do they start from? Where do they start from?
Yeah. I don't know. Today's game was interesting to analyze because it was kind of like you said, reminiscent of a few of their performances recently. Uh, they created a lot of chances. They created even more than the chances that they created. They created a lot of good situations that you would just expect to yield better chances. There's a few from Kai Havertz, especially where like they might not register as like a big chance missed or a shot on target, but it should have been leading to a shot on target. There was one where Odegaard gets the ball off of a mistake from I believe it was McAllister,
Yeah,
and then he
McAllister.
takes two people on, drags them out of position, and reverses the ball to Havertz, where he has the option to one, put it on his right foot, go down the line and smash it across goal, or take a first time left footed curler to the far post. He takes a touch on his left foot, it gets stuck in his feet, and then the chance is gone. And then it looks like, oh, you know what I mean? But I don't know if there's like a way to quantify those kind of opportunities, but there were quite a few throughout the game today. But yeah, I don't know. The attack was poor. It was just poor. The commentators were reflecting at the end of the game saying Allison didn't really have to do any work. And I actually don't remember him having to make a save besides the ones that he just kind of like picked up, where it was like long shots that got deflected, or him picking a cross out of the air. But there was never really an opportunity that I felt like, okay, Allison had to go make a save. I know
Yeah.
Konate had a goal line block from the Odegaard chance that then hit the post. Um, Besides that, honestly, they were in danger situations the entire game, and they were in complete control of the game, obviously. But they're just not turning these dangerous situations into actual danger. And it's at this point, I think last episode I spoke about maybe it being a coaching thing in terms of like stifling the team and stopping their creativity. But in the last few games, the last 3 games, they've actually been creative. They're just now
Yeah.
not taking their chances. And it's I don't know. And
Yeah. I
this
spoke
isn't just one
about
player or two players. This is like three, four, five, six players. And I know that has to be frustrating. And in a game like today, like we all know football. You miss enough chances throughout the game. You get to that 80th minute. There's only one winner. It's just the way football gods work. You get punished for not taking your opportunities, and
yeah,
of course, as soon
especially
as an
against.
opportunity fell to
I was going to say, especially
exactly,
against a team like Liverpool. This is what they do. And
Yeah, they'll punish you.
I just texted one of my Arsenal friends. I said I felt like this loss was more on the players. Um, and I'm looking at players like we've lauded, players like Bukayo Saka in particular. You know, there's been a lot of question marks, not question marks really, but debates about is he world class? Is he that good of a player that they portray him to be? And in the past couple games, he's just been missing. I look at the duel against Joe Gomez. This is the second time he's coming against Joe Gomez, who is playing out of his favorite position, and he hasn't looked too good. Is this worrying? Should they be worried? Or this is just, something that happens to every other attacking player where they have a little bit of deep in form and they pick themselves back up? Or should Arsenal fans actually be worried about Bukayo Saka's form right now?
As usual, like when he performs poorly, they'll say he needs rest or he gets kicked a lot. Whatever new metric that they bring to um, justify his performance. I just think he needs to be held to the standard at which they have portrayed this guy to be. Personally, I think we should all be measured in the way that we assess Bukayo Saka and his development, because we have to realize like he's still a kid, right? As solid as he's always been, where I think Saka gets over criticized is as a player. Like, does he belong at the top level? Of course, 1,000%. I think he can play multiple positions. He's comfortable on both feet. He's relatively quick. He's very secure with the ball. He makes brilliant decisions. His decision making is absolutely phenomenal, right? He reminds me of kind of like a Pep level player with his decision making and his ability to always find the right pass or the right decision. Where I think we need to relax with the Bukayo Saka conversation is comparing him to like great wingers or guys that have done it for 6 7 years on the bounce. This high numbers, this high level of performance. We just it's football Twitter though. It's like there's never a nuanced conversation about any player.
Yeah,
So he's not exempt from that. When they're in their good moments, they're overhyped. When they're in their bad moments, they're over criticized. It's just kind of like the lay of the land. I think Saka is at a level for his age that is phenomenal. I think he's a great player. I would like to have a Saka in my team because he can cover so many positions and he can do it brilliantly. He works super hard. He has an unreal motor, unreal engine. You never really see him gassing out at the end of games. He's always giving it his all. I don't think and we talked about the eye test thing. I think we might have talked about this off camera, but I don't think he's got that like flair or
yeah,
dazzling effect that I'm used to in top attackers. And for me, that's always kind of been my biggest like criticism of him. Like when I'm being trying to be funny and like just do banter, like I'll call him a left
yeah,
back or whatever, because I think he
yeah,
has solid fundamentals.
yeah.
But I just don't see that like X factor that I'm used to seeing in top class attackers. Does that mean that he can't develop that? Of course not. It doesn't mean that. Because I think I look at a guy like Gareth Bale, for example. I think he made that same transition from left back to playing right wing. And originally, like, yeah, he was kind of very predictable in the way that he liked to attack. Go down the wing, put in a cross. Go down the wing, put in a cross. Then you see over the years, he would add a new kind of like bag to his arsenal. And no pun intended. And he would just continue to develop that way. He had to cut in and hit it on the left foot. Then he added like set pieces and before you knew it, he was like that well-rounded attacker that other teams had to start to take into account when they were game
Right.
planning for you. And then he got his move to Real, and then you see how that worked out. So I think people need to let Saka continue to develop, continue to grow, but he's been pushed into conversations way too early that I
Hmm.
feel like are unfair on someone at his age, someone that like, and I think he's done well for Arsenal in terms of like he's pulled them out of that bad period. He was a bright spark when they were kind of in the dumps, and he's kept his level of performance. And even this season, like we're being critical of him, but he's at what, like 8 goals, 5 assists, or something like that.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
been he's still been good this season.
Mm.
Um, but again, like because of the level that guys have tried to put him at, I think like he's now being over criticized because he's not hitting those levels. But do they need to be worried about him? I don't think so. I think he's in a bad patch. All attackers go through bad patches where nothing's going for you. You can see like he fluffed his lines a couple times today in front of
Yeah.
goal, and he just doesn't have that confidence, that natural confidence of like knowing exactly what you want to do and just doing it with conviction and getting results from it. But he's not the only one. And I think that's the biggest thing. He's not the only one. This is where, as a winger, you need your kind of like your front man to lift you up in these kind of moments. He's struggling. Martinelli's struggling. That's why you need your nine to begin those scrappy, ugly goals, getting you through these moments and getting your wingers back in form, bringing them into play, putting them in good positions. And unfortunately, they don't have that right now. Again, Jesus is unavailable in a big game. His availability, no one ever wants to talk about it. They only ever want to talk about Eddie Nketiah and how for a backup he's not scoring 89 goals a season because apparently that's what backups do. So it's looking like Eddie's in the window, looking like he's going to get sold. I hope for his sake he gets sold and they get somebody else in because I just want finally someone who deserves blame or deserves criticism to actually get the criticism. Because you've got Jesus now, he's been there, this is going on, this is the second season, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think he's even played half the games just yet. So his availability is not good enough. Guys like Thomas Partey, their availability is not good enough. So I think the team as a whole, there needs to be criticism all across the board.
Right.
You saw Martinelli came on, he had two bright sparks and then he faded.
Yeah.
Reece Nelson, he got a chance. Again, anonymous. Not being an attacker is hard. It's hard. It's. I was telling you I watched Hudson-Odoi for Nottingham Forest, right, in the game against United, and I told you he had a couple good moments, good touches, but overall there's no output, there's no impact. It's the same thing with Reece Nelson. A couple good touches, getting out of trouble when he was in cul-de-sacs, recycling possession. They kept the ball really well, but an attacker, it's not about those things. It's not about what you're doing in the flow of the game. It's about the moments which you can create impact because that's what you get paid for. There's a reason why attackers always get paid more than defenders. There's a reason why they have bigger careers. They have more publicity. They're more hyped up. They're more glamorized. It comes with the territory. You can't be mad about it because when you're getting the benefits of being an attacker, no one's saying like, oh, I'm being praised too much. So when the
Yeah.
criticism comes, don't say you're being criticized too much. So I
I
think
think that's
Arsenal as
another
a
thing.
whole, like they need
Sorry,
to.
sorry to cut you short there, but I think that's another thing that guys like Salah get praised for because they don't do those other things too much, but they score, right? They score and they get
Mm-hmm.
assists. The most important thing is they do it. And we as fans
Yep.
sometimes we get overcritical. We say, "Oh, look, we don't see those." Even Saka as well. Like sometimes we say, we don't see those flair. We don't see them, get past their man too often. But once they score, and which is the most difficult thing in football, right? Scoring goals, which is like, pointing that out. I just wanted to spotlight that a little bit more because we said that a lot on this show as well. Talking about Salah and Hazard and those type of players. I know this is a totally different conversation, but I just wanted to
No,
bring that up.
but it's very relevant though because again, is aesthetic bias, right? I'm a kind of play. I'm a kind of fan who I like technically secure players, right? I like a player that is comfortable on the ball, that is intelligent with it. But I'm also realistic in understanding that you need impact. You need output. If you have a team of complete ethical footballers who are aesthetically brilliant and pleasing on the eye, but they have absolutely no output, that does no benefit to the fan. You don't want to go watch a game where everybody's taking the best touch, making the best decision, being technically sound, and you're ending the game 0-0. That's a boring watch. So at the end of the day, as much as we want to say that attackers should be technical. And I've been critical of guys like Osimhen, guys like Mohamed Salah, guys like Bruno Fernandes. I've been critical of these guys. These guys have incredible output. So I also have, I'm able to understand and rationalize that as much as you can be a player who is limited in terms of your technicality on the ball, if you have output, in my opinion, it offsets that, right?
Yeah,
Specifically when you're playing in the attacking positions. Now, I don't hold that same thought if you're playing in the center of midfield and you're expected to like dictate the game. I think your technicality matters way more than your output. But I think that sometimes guys veer in too far a direction. They'll say like, "Oh, get this guy out of my club. He's absolutely shit." Right? Spurs fans, we kind of dealt with this last year. We felt like Son, he doesn't retain the ball well. He's not good with his back to goal. He's not really a great dribbler anymore. He's lost a yard of pace, but this guy has output, right? So if we go and replace a Son with like, for example, Liao's technically sound. He's exciting. He has gravity. He has all the things you would expect from an attacker. But what is he
yeah,
on, like 100 days now in Serie A with no goals? These are the kinds of things You know what I mean? Like, that's not a criticism of him, but it's just saying
Yeah.
like it's so easy for fans to like kind of approach this and say, "Oh, I want a player that's X, Y, and Z." But the
Yeah.
reality is, we play a game that's results based, that is based on wins and losses, right?
Hmm.
The new tactical Twitter will have you believe that the game is about XG, is about field tilt, is about chances created, is about winning your duels. That's what they'll have you believe. But in reality, what the game gets scored on is who puts up the most numbers in the goal column and who puts on the least numbers.
Yeah.
This ain't, it's not going to change anytime soon. As much as, if you remember the one Arsenal fan that went viral last year for saying that the point system in the league should be based on XG created, goal difference, and all. It's like, what? He was like, it's so unfair that arbitrary wins and losses is the only thing used to. I'm like, listen, get these tacticals out of the game. This is going back to proper football. Football is about moments. It's about who gets the job done in the critical moments. And I think right now Arsenal are missing a difference maker in terms of those big moments. And yeah, I think right now that puts all the pressure on them for that game in early February at the Emirates against Liverpool. Because I think if they lose that game, their season could be well and truly over. Like I told you, and I predicted, I said after that loss, in my opinion, to Fulham, I felt like they're going to be 15, 13, 15 points off the title. I just,
Hmm.
because people have to understand these things have an effect. They have a knock on effect on your mentality,
Yeah.
on your psyche. The players are going to start doubting themselves. Who, like, all these early cup exits, these were the things that were the undoing of Poch's Tottenham Hotspur. Like, the players just start to lose a little bit of belief in themselves. They start to kind of lose faith in the system. And what is the ultimate goal? What can we achieve? It's
Hmm.
tiring to go into these games and every single week you're you know what I mean, like you're putting in your best, you're getting some results, and then at the end of the season it's just kind of like, what
Yeah.
was all that for? So um it's, they need to now quickly turn their season around by getting a result at the Emirates against Liverpool, because that gets them back in the title race, and at least it gets the fans something to cheer on. And
Yeah.
then they need to make sure that they're beating Porto over two legs, progressing in the Champions League, and that's the only way to salvage the season. I think a lot of their fans are going overboard, of course, and I got some criticism in the comments as well, saying that Arsenal fans are not the only ones who turn on their team and etc. I never said that they were. I just think like they're the most known for it, because
Yeah.
when you think of like fan channels and fan interviews, the first 10 that you can think of criticizing their own clubs are all Arsenal interviews. They're in like the millions, close to billions of views. So it's not, I'm not making these things up. These are widely known facts. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's, I think it's all on the league game now.
Yeah. So let's talk about Liverpool. Obviously, a couple interesting things stood out to me in that game. I saw Klopp uh, change few things in game. I thought they started with Elliott on the right hand side of the wing, and then slowly it changed to, I think I saw what's his name, Diaz towards the end of the game. At some point, maybe even Gakpo, what's his Nunez was moved to the left hand side. Different varies of formation, switching people around, and then in midfield, I felt like McAllister had a very awful game, and I think he got subbed off, and they brought in this dude, I can't remember his name. They brought in a couple young kids as well. And I saw Trent move essentially to the midfield, and I think that's when they probably got the goal, because when Martinelli came on, he had a go at Trent, I think twice, and he beat him successfully twice. And after that, I watched Klopp brought in two unknown guys from the academy and put Trent in midfield, and then they went on to win that game. So, to you, what does that say? Does that mean they have better quality, better Arsenal to get past this period where Salah is missing? And I also saw an interesting stats about that too. They said in 20 something games that Salah has not played for Liverpool, they've lost only three. That's incredible, you know, to think that, Salah, as big as he is, for them not to lose as many games, just three games. And then I'm also thinking about Endo. Is he? This might sound crazy, but it's looking like he's more of a miss than Salah.
Well, he's their only natural DM, right? He's their only natural defensive midfielder. You can see McAllister really struggled in that role. Again, with the McAllister thing, I don't understand what Klopp is trying to do here. because we're in January. I haven't heard Liverpool linked with anybody. Like, not just attacker, defenders, center mid. They haven't been linked with anyone. What's going on? You're first and you're 5 points clear with the champions having a game in hand. Is John Henry about to get away with not doing any business in January when there's such glaring holes in the team? He's literally called Mac 10. You know why he's called Mac 10? Because he ain't a fucking DM. Like, you know what I mean? It's just you watch this guy, he's not a defensive minded midfielder.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says. He's never been a defensive minded defender, midfielder. So what are they trying to accomplish here? He had a really bad game today. And you can see like they really struggled with that mix of him, Elliott, and Curtis Jones. That is not a midfield that is about to do anything serious in this league. So again, Endo's going to be gone, and Japan are probably going to do pretty well in the Asian Cup because they're a pretty good, footballing outfit. So is Egypt, right? You said the stat of Salah. People seem to forget that a lot of Salah's career has been under Klopp, right? I'm not saying that he's a system player or anything like that. He's absolutely special. But when you play in that Liverpool system, you're going to get opportunities, right? It puts you in a position to be successful. He's an attack-minded coach. He knows how to create moments, and he's been known to coach some of the best attackers in recent memory. Like you go back to his Dortmund team, he had those guys absolutely firing. So I'm not shocked that Liverpool are able to find success without Salah. However, I watched them today and they weren't very good. They were really, really poor. They were by far the second best team. They couldn't sustain possession. They couldn't get out of their own half. They resorted to just long balls and testing the Arsenal defenders' ability to clear their lines. And they ultimately scored from a set piece and a counterattack when Arsenal were going gung-ho. So we have to keep that in perspective. As much as we want to be critical of Arsenal and we like to laugh at them, let's not pretend like Liverpool come out of this looking great all of a sudden. I'm watching that game, and if I'm a Liverpool fan and I'm not seeing any links to anybody besides this random far-fetched Mbappe links, focus, Liverpool fans, focus. Stop tweeting at Mbappe. You have a glaring hole in your midfield. I know it sounds good. You're 5 points clear at the top. You're in the Europa League. You're flying. You're in the semifinals of the Carabao Cup, and you're probably going to go through to the finals. Focus. The season can be over just like that. Arsenal were flying 2 weeks ago. All of a sudden, they're out of every cup, domestic cup competition. They're looking like they're out of the league title race, and now their season is in shambles. Focus. You have a lot of business to do. You cannot go into the run-in against a team like City. And did we see City? Are we seeing what's going on over there? Do we see who just came back? All right. So if Liverpool if John Henry thinks it's all good, it's all peachy, we're 5 points clear, we're going to do this, good luck. I, for one, and I've been consistent on Liverpool, I think that they will be the closest challengers. You are not winning this league with a midfield of Curtis Jones, McAllister, Gravenberg, whatever new concoction you want to mix out of those 5-6 midfielders that you have available. It is not going to work. They can't win duels. They have no legs. These guys are all the same kind of player. Like I look at Mac 10, I look at Elliott, I look at Curtis Jones, I look at a Gravenberg coming. They're all the same kind of player in different ways. Yeah. They're all looking to do the same kinds of things. So I don't know. I'm looking at Liverpool and I'm like, you don't come out of that game looking good. If you go up against a low block, you're absolutely fucked. You can't progress the ball. And you're about to go into a run in title challengers that are refreshed, rested. They've had their poor stretch of form. They're ready to go. So I don't think that bodes well for them. And I think the game at Emirates, they can very easily lose that game. They can very easily lose that game to Arsenal because Arsenal should have won this game. Absolutely should have won this game. So, yeah.
You also talk about moments. I feel like we've seen City struggle. We've seen Arsenal struggle. I think it'll be poor timing if Liverpool struggle after the January break. Right? If they struggle in terms of results. Yeah. Because now there's nowhere to go. Like they can't go into the window and try to address something. It's not Arsenal have an opportunity, if they think it's a striker, if they think it's whoever to bring someone in. City to do as well. But now Liverpool, they're flying high right now. So it might feel like, everything is good, right? Everything is Gucci, but I feel like you said, they need to address something. Another standout performer for me, you've always no, not always. I think you always said Van Dijk, but Kanute today had a brilliant game against Saliba, who is always talked about more often than not, and he came out with the man of the match award. Can you just talk to us about how good he was today?
Yeah, and I remember I pointed out that he probably should have been man of the match in the Anfield fixture as well. I thought that was really good center back play. What I don't understand, but I mean, this is probably football Twitter again at work, but Saliba wasn't bad at all. People were saying like he got dunked on for a header that hit the post. We're reaching here again. I get tribalism, but this is a brilliant young. He's what 21. This is a brilliant young player. This is an insane talent. What he
Yeah,
can do on the ball, Konate could never dream of doing. But I think Konate is probably the better pure defender. But he has to be the better pure defender if he's going to be so limited on the ball. But yeah, Konate is absolutely dominant. He's one of those guys who can win you a game defensively. I like to juxtapose soccer with American football sometimes, and it's kind of like the same thing. Attackers get praised, defenders get shit on. Attackers get praised for performances where they score one goal in a 1-0 win, and your defender had 7 goal line clearances. So I think Konate
yeah,
is one of the few guys who can inspire a team to win by his performance defensively. Like we all know, watching our teams, there's certain tackles that happen that just galvanize the team. You're like, oh, okay, no, 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 we got wake up, wake up. Everybody just wakes up, right? These last ditch tackles, goal line clearances,
yeah.
last minute blocks, whatever. You see the defenders celebrate, get everybody hyped, and the team is right up for it. So Konate has that in his bag. He has all of those tackles, all of that dominance. And again, you can see when Trent was absolutely getting roasted by Nelly when he first came on, who was there cleaning it up? Konate every single time. Hey, you're gonna get past him. That's all well and good, but you're not getting past me. And he was there for the block, the crucial block, and probably Arsenal's best chance of the game. And overall, like he wasn't really good on the ball, but none of their defenders were, and none of their midfielders were good on the ball. They absolutely got pinned in. But his performance defensively kept them in the game long enough for his attackers to make a difference. And I think he clearly was the man of the match. Again, just like in the Anfield game, it was good center back play. I didn't think Arsenal really had to defend much,
Yeah.
so it's kind of hard to really like look. Versus at the game in Anfield, they kind of were tested more, and so they were able to kind of show themselves strong. But I think Konate was really really good today, and for them to win that with Konate and Kwanzaa having the performances that they do, I think is going to give them a lot of like belief and a lot of faith that at least defensively they're pretty secure. And I've always maintained that. Liverpool are very secure defensively. I
Thank
think
you.
where they really need to do business is in midfield. And like you said, it'll be really, really bad luck if these results start to go the opposite way after the transfer window is closed. So I'm really shocked that I'm not seeing any links to them in midfield. And I'm wondering if they're going to go the entire January with doing absolutely no business, because that's going to be very, very interesting. And I'm pretty sure that if they end up not achieving what they hope to accomplish at the end of the season, they're going to look back at January as a time that should have done more.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, talking about January, your team Spurs, uh, practically almost a done deal. Timo Werner to Tottenham. I was shocked to see that. What are your thoughts about that move?
Um, yeah, I'm sure you already know how I feel. Um, I don't know. The fan base right now, and this is the case with every time a new manager comes in. If the manager wants him, I want him. I don't know. I'm still hurt about us spending 50 million pounds on Brennan Johnson. So ultimately, this is a loan deal, and
No option to
um,
buy.
there's an option to buy. It's not an obligation though, which is good. And the option to buy is between 15 and 20 million, and most are saying is around 18 million euros. So ultimately, do I care? No, he's what 27, 28. He's supposedly in the prime of his football career. He's got some attributes that are useful. He can create havoc. He's great at pressing, and that's something that even Chelsea fans will tell you. Like he's a great presser. He's going to create a lot of chances just from his havoc. This guy's not a finisher. We know that. Some of the chances he's missed are so criminal that you can't gaslight me into thinking that this player is anything more than he is, because there's no bad run of form that justifies some of the misses that he's had in his career. So I think over time now I feel a lot better about the signing because I just don't expect much from him. And I love signings like that sometimes where it's like, okay, we didn't spend any money. There's no downside to this.
There might
All
be.
it can be is ever a positive. No, I mean,
Oh,
anything he does badly is not going to be shocking at all. Like, no Spurs fan is going to be like, oh my God, he's let us down. It's like, what did you think you were signing, right? So um, I think he's going to play a lot better than people think because word on the street is he's making this move because he's trying to get into the Euros team, right? Which he only has what 3 or 4 months to really prove his mettle if he's going to try to break into the German team. So we're going to offer him the chance to play games. He's going to be in a system that's going to allow him to create chances and try to show whatever he's worth. And so my biggest fear is that he's going to have a good performance because he wants to get into the Euros team. We're going to sign him for 18 million and then not get an actual like attacker in the summer, and then he's going to show us his true colors because we know who this guy really is. So yeah, it's an uninspiring, unexciting sign in, but what can you do, man? We all
I'm
can't
sure you
spend a
can see
billion.
that graphic going around of Richarlison, Brennan Johnson, and Timo Werner. Like, who's the finisher?
See, I don't like when Richie gets lumped into them sometimes though, because I do think that of those three, Richarlison is clearly like he's actually a good finisher. His
But you
problem
said
is he
no,
doesn't know
no,
how to
no.
stay on
That wasn't
side.
how you felt before, though. This wasn't how you
No,
felt
no, no, no,
before.
no. So I've always been the Richie guy in my fan base, right? One thing Richie does do well is put the ball in the back of the net. What he doesn't do well is almost everything else. He can't stay on side. He doesn't have the IQ to receive the ball in good positions. He doesn't make intelligent runs. He just makes the same run over and over until it works. He's not good on the ball technically. Um, he can't pass. Like he's just bad at everything else. What he can do is when given a decent opportunity, he can put the ball in the back of the net. Now, recently, he's added finishing problems to his list of woes, but that didn't used to be kind of his thing. But recently, yeah, he's been very, very wasteful in front of goal. So right now, yeah, it's looking absolutely spooky. But what people won't tell you is that's not going to be our front three. There's no way that's going to be our front three. Sonny's going to be back in February. Like it's only going to be 2 games. It's the Brentford game and the United game, right? So Sonny's going to be back in February. Kulusevski's is going to be on the wing. Madison is back in training. So like, let's relax. All right, we're not ever going to see a front three of Richarlison,
Never say never.
Brennan
Hey,
Johnson,
okay.
and Timo Werner. We might see
Hey,
it against United if Kulusevski plays in the middle, but yeah, come on. That is, but absolutely, that's an absolutely bottom tier front three, bottom tier. And it's worrying because again, these are signings that Ange's pushed for. He wanted Brendan Johnson apparently. He
yeah,
wanted Timo Werner apparently. So it's just making me a little wary of like, what is this guy's talent ID? I don't know.
I
That's
saw that
that's
tweet too.
very very spooky, man. Very spooky.
Okay. Another FA Cup game. Obviously, the Chelsea game. I don't know if you saw that game, but the first half was chaotic. It was something out of this world against the championship team. Not like a good championship team, like mid-table to relegation type championship team in Preston North End, but it was very horrible first half. But the second half was like light and day difference. Like it was so different the second half, and um, I have I don't have too much to complain about the second half because I saw Poch made some questionable substitutions and they paid off. Like just as Modric was starting to cook, he took him off and brought in Noni. I think he brought in Noni instead of taking out Sterling. Sterling was the one that was really bad all game, but he switched Sterling to the left, and Sterling started to cook, and he scored that really good free kick. Obviously, Thiago scored. I think one of his first action coming on because I was shocked to see Thiago. We needed Thiago Silva to come on in a game against a 39-year-old man in a game against the championship side. Like if we're supposed to rest him in any game, it was that game. Like he shouldn't even make the
Hmm.
bench, right? But he came on and then he scored, and I held my hands up and said, "Okay, I mean, what can I say?" Because he just justified the reason why the coach, subbed him in, and Palmer was a little iffy, but he got an assist. I felt like Enzo had a spectacular game. Again, it's a very low placed team, but it's good for his confidence, for minutes in the tank. I felt like him playing that deep. But sometimes though, I saw him rotate with Palmer. Sometimes Palmer was deep and he had the license to go forward. But whenever he was deeper, I felt like we controlled the game more. And Disasi looked suspect a lot of times. A lot of times, the
He's
first
not a
half,
good player, bro.
and I was
He's not a
just
good player.
wondering. I was just scratching my head, thinking, how did we, get this
He's not a
guy?
good player.
Yeah, I don't think he's one where. But again, a lot of people have been trying to say it might be the Pochettino effect. Like he's probably better than
But
this.
he's not a good player. Like he has such clear limitations. You know what I mean?
I
Like
agree.
it's so glaring. I think you can tell. Like you can tell with certain players. This is you. You know, like sometimes you can see like okay, manager has a role to play in this, but
Yeah,
he has some clear limitations, in my opinion. And I don't know. It might also be aesthetic bias because he looks very like trucky. Like he's not fluid. You know what I mean? Like he's so stiff and so
yeah.
like he
He's
just
really
feels
stiff.
so
Have you seen him
yeah.
play right back? Have you seen? Have you seen when he tries to play right back?
Unfortunately for my poor eyes, I
Yeah,
have.
that's one of the.
I've had to watch many a game with this guy at right back trying to overlap. I think what was the game I'm thinking of?
Probably
I
the
think you ended
Sheffield
up winning
United
this
game.
game as well.
Sheffield
That was the
United.
one. That was
Yeah.
the one where he was trying to make these runs, and I was just like, God,
I
make it
just feel like,
stop. It's
how is Poch seeing that and thinking, yeah, this guy can do something as a right back? I don't get it. Like,
This is why I say, like, even in the wins are validating to me why Chelsea need a managerial change. Go and ring up the Zerbi. Because, again, I told you the wins aren't inspiring. The reason why the wins aren't inspiring is because, honestly, like, I think
excuse me.
winning in style, right? Winning in style when you're a team that is struggling for form is almost more important than just winning, right? So Chelsea have won 4 out of 5, arguably 3 out of 5 because the Newcastle game was a draw in regulation time and a win on penalties.
Yeah.
Um, but besides the fact that you are in the semifinals in the Carabao Cup, your league position hasn't really improved. And I think also you haven't really come out of this winning run knowing
Confident.
more about the team. Like, can you say like you understand the team any better now than when you were losing?
Not really.
I wouldn't
Not
say
really.
like anything's more obvious. Cole Palmer's still Cole Palmer. He still have an impact. We already knew that. Guys like, Broha has gotten a goal here and there. Sterling is
Not
still
here and
very
there.
up
Just a
and
goal.
down, even
He just
within the
got a
same
goal.
games. Well, just a goal. It was a good goal, to be fair.
Yeah.
Um, and I just think the team hasn't changed in terms of perception. And the reason why is because I think you're still seeing all these players out of position. You're still feeling like the team hasn't really absolutely hit their potential. And so, like, for me, that's where, like, I'm even more worried as a Chelsea fan is if the wins are going to be this uninspiring, then the losses are going to feel 10 times as worse.
Yeah.
And it's just going to give you that kind of pit in your stomach where you just never trust the team. And at the end of the day, like you want to trust the team, whether it's good or bad. United fans, they go into every game. If they're going to lose, they at least know what they're going to see. They're going to see guys not trying and sitting back. With Chelsea fans, it's just like, what am I going to get from this team? And I think he needs to create, for one, get a starting 11, right? I understand injuries and I understand this and that, but get a starting 11, play players in the right positions, get something that feels at least good to fans, win or lose. You know what I mean? Like, and so I don't know. It seems like he's struggling to really stamp his like authority on the team, and it's just not given the level of confidence that it should, in my opinion. Because you won 4-0, arguably one of the more dominant wins over the FA Cup period, besides the City win, and no one's even really talking about it like the way they should be. You know what I mean? It still kind of
Yeah.
feels like, you know. And you've got what? You've got Middlesbrough. You've got Middlesbrough coming up in the semifinals. So that's a chance now to be in a final. And, I'm going to be watching out to see if you can create some type of like energy from that win, if you're able to, get through that game successfully. So I don't know. It's really weird to judge
Yeah,
Chelsea right now because the results are much better, but the performances aren't really
yeah.
inspiring in my opinion.
Like I hear you. For me, as a fan, I'm trying to stay positive, right? So I'm trying to take the good things over like the bad things. So I tweeted something yesterday because I said, oh, 10-10 first, 10 over 10 first half, second half. And Roller was like, but it's against Preston. And then I said,
Hmm.
but in the first half, we called out the team. We said, oh, why are they playing this well? This way, right? We don't see any urgency. We have too many men behind the ball. Nobody's making runs. Nobody's getting past their man. So now in the second half, I started to see those things. So I can say, oh, fair play. They did better. But overall, was it what I was expecting? No. But did we win the game? Yes. And once we win the game, and I feel like we played a lot better the second half. They truly looked like a championship team the second half. So I didn't have much to complain about, and I will much rather focus on like the positives of the second half than go back to the first half. So I just left it that way. So sometimes it's always good to hear other perspective because if I hear Chelsea fans say this, I'll assume like they are one of the Pochettino outs, you know, and right now, in as much as I understand that Poch might not be the man, but I just don't see any reasonable. I don't see anything good coming out from sacking him right now. Like
No, I
what a
mean he should have to the end of the season anyway,
yeah
right? He's going
yeah
to have to the end of the season. It's his first season. Like no one, he's not getting sacked mid-season, especially coming from a season where you just finished with 12th. What were
yeah
you last season? 12th or 10th?
12.
So yeah, he's not going to get sacked now because again, the standards have been lowered by this ownership based on their previous appointments.
Yeah,
So the least they can do is allow him to see out the season, especially with all the injuries and all of the different like chopping and changing that he's had to do throughout the season. But I think for me, it's just like when the wins start to become uninspiring, that usually happens when a manager is towards the end of his tenure. Like you would have seen that with like the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's and the Nuno Espirito Santos, where you just when you win, you as a fan, you're upset because you're like, he survived another week,
yeah.
and you know that this guy isn't good long term for the club.
I mean, some
And I
fans
just
are feeling that way too about Poch. They feel that way too about
I
Poch.
I don't
Yeah,
I don't blame them though, and the reason why I don't blame them is because again, this is a moment where I feel like he came into a situation which I've said like he was set up to fail, right? Because I think if you're going to be signing players, irrespective of the manager's input, that only works in lower leagues or lower teams. That doesn't work at the very top. Everybody needs to be in sync, right? And you've heard him a lot kind of throw shots at the ownership where he'll say, we have to take a decision. We will be involved. I will be involved. He's almost like he's trying to speak it into existence. Like, you're not involved, but he's trying to remind them that we need to be involved. And the problem now is if you have that disconnect from ownership, now you have a disconnect from the fans because one, you're a Spurs guy, so you have to earn
already. Yeah,
everything when you come to Chelsea anyway, right? And then you didn't hit the ground running, and then you're now pretty much sabotaging fan favorite players by playing them out of position or keeping them out of the team is going to have a knock-on effect of lack of confidence. And at the end of the day, when you don't have the results, you don't have the success, you don't have the track record. There's nothing in the bank for Pochettino at Chelsea, and then you don't have the backing of the ownership. That spells doom, in my opinion. And then also, like, just like as much as Chelsea has changed, right? This isn't the Roman Chelsea. If anything can restore that kind of feeling, is having a manager that is reminiscent of the level of swagger and arrogance that you would expect from a Chelsea manager. This is something that he also doesn't have. So there's so much working, in my opinion, against him than is working for him. So ultimately, I think, and this is long term. Like I'm not saying sack him now because I don't think he will get sacked and I don't think he should get sacked. But I think long term, you've just now identified this is not your guy
yeah.
because he lacks that ability to get the fans on. If you can't get the fans on your side now, you just never will. it'll always be a divided fan base that is looking for a reason to sack you, and then the other half is looking for a reason to keep you, and it's just going to be week to week to week to week to week.
Yeah,
What you need is a manager that can inspire and galvanize the fans, and that they can get behind. And I just don't think he's that guy.
yeah, yeah. I think I agree with that. In
And
as
I
much
don't. I was saying winning the Carabao Cup could probably be a way to jumpstart that, but the way the run has been so far,
you don't
it
see that,
still
right?
feels so Bro, when United won the Carabao, you would have thought they won the treble. Boy, the belief in the manager was sky high. The way they celebrated that win, the amount of
But I
like,
think it's different though because we're all the way in tenth, right? What tenth?
I understand that,
Yeah. So
but it wasn't like Ten Hag was competing for the title when, you know what I mean. Like they were in the top four, but they weren't like in by February they were completely out of the title race,
but I
completely
feel
out
like
of it. Right?
if we're probably like fifth, fourth, to knowing Chelsea fans, if we win the Carabao Cup, would it will probably be the same energy as when.
I think they'll celebrate the Carabao Cup. I just don't think it's going to buy the manager any more time. I just don't think it's going to be credited in his bank. In
No,
the
I don't
same
think
way,
so.
like you go look at like a Mikel Arteta, like for example, like
Especially seeing how it turned out for Manchester United. Like,
exactly,
yeah, we'll be like, yeah, yeah,
they're going to feel like it's papering over the cracks.
yeah. So, yeah, City. We had a certain Kevin De Bruyne come back today, and obviously, was it today or yesterday? I can't remember when the game was, and had the assist. And we got,
He came on as a sub today. Yeah,
yeah, today.
they played today. Yeah.
And then we have Phil Foden. Oh my goodness, that guy has turned into a monster. Yeah, playing, I think his favorite position, a little more centrally, like a number 10, and he's causing lots of havoc. And Alvarez again, looking like his old self. I think my Akanji went out. Akanji, you went out injured in that game, but overall, it feels like City are back.
Yeah, man. We both know they never left though. We've been consistent with that. But yeah, again, this is why all of you naysayers, which is now a very funny word, um, you're all idiots, man. You're falling for the same script every single season. Every single season, this guy does this to you guys, and you make yourself look absolutely foolish. He does this slow start. He manufactures some random like adversity that's going on behind the scenes at the club, and you all fall for it every single season. This guy's working with the cabal. He's with the mafia. They're trying to get you to bet your hard-earned money against this team. Stop it. This team is stacked to high heavens. They've got Oscar Bob now. All of a sudden, the guy is a good player. Like, listen, there's something unbecoming going on here, right? Manchester City are a juggernaut. They've won 3 Premier League titles in a row and just came off of a treble. Do you know the nerve of people to doubt this team halfway through the season, only 2 points off the title? What are you doing? If in any other sport, it's going to seem like insanity. You know what I mean? Like a team has just won 3 of the last titles in a row and have just won a treble, something that's done once every 5 or 6 years. No, once every decade. Barely
I was
once
gonna
every
say
decade.
5 or 6 years, bro.
This is a rare accomplishment in the world of football.
Yeah,
And you're going to go doubt these guys when they still have
bro.
the
The
core
last
of the
time was
team there.
'99. The last time an English team did it was
Well, yeah, an English team did it. Yeah. Barca have done it twice.
Inter did
Inter
it.
done it.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty much it, right? So you're talking about being able to count on one hand the amount of times it's been done, and less than 4 fingers the amount of teams that have done it. Come on now. So, and then you still have the core of that team in place, and they're all relatively still young. And guys are telling me, oh, they miss Gundogan or they miss, in your case, Cole Palmer. You know what I mean? Like,
I
and
never
that's
said
not
no,
even
no,
a
no, no,
rub
no.
out.
I never said they missed Cole Palmer. I said
The
Cole
tape, the
Palmer.
tape doesn't lie, Adams.
Nah,
The tape doesn't lie.
I said Cole Palmer probably comes in and does a job for them when De Bruyne is out. But yeah,
To be fair, you've been consistent that they'll be okay anyways. And as you can see, Oscar Bob is in, Rico Lewis. These are guys, and I wouldn't be surprised if another name pops up. Right, this team knows how to win. Right, And like I said, in all of the performances this season that we've been saying they've been underwhelming or they haven't gotten the results, they have yet to been outplayed by anybody except Villa. And in that Villa game, he played like 6 center backs because he hated his midfield. So again, he's got De Bruyne back, Rodri's back. Listen, guys, they've won the Club World Cup. Right now, they're in the best, and then the KDB coming back has lifted the spirits. And then the good thing with KDB being out, it's turned Foden into a man. He's kind of like dug in and had to really fight for his spot because again, this guy, people have been saying this is now or never.
Versus,
I don't like people saying Foden is clear of Saka still because I think Foden still hasn't done what Saka has done, in my opinion. Right? I think Saka still has definitely accomplished more. But again, this is a very talented player. This is a very talented and accomplished player, and these guys are rounding into form. Is their league to lose? Obviously, is their league to lose, especially after I just watched from what I just watched from Liverpool. It is City's league to lose, and we're all idiots for counting them out at any point in the season. But what else can you say?
what else can you say, man? They're back. The guys are back. Yeah, it was a FA Cup week, so we don't have much of football to talk about anyway. But we'll be back next week. I think we have some midweek football. I think Chelsea and Liverpool, right? Yeah, Chelsea and Liverpool.
We play United on Sunday as well.
Oh yeah, and then I think we play Fulham on Saturday. We play Fulham on Saturday too, which is we play at home, so I'm really positive about that game. And
Fulham are in a really interesting turn of form as well. They've
oh
been
yeah,
scoring a
they
lot
are.
of goals.
Yeah,
So,
they are. They are.
and all you always know, a London derby is never anything to sneeze at. So,
Yeah,
um,
but I'm just.
obviously, if you whatever your performance is on the weekend, I mean, in the midweek, is going to affect kind of like the atmosphere around that game. So,
Mhm. And
um,
obviously, it's a game that the midweek game is a game that obviously we have to win.
you should be winning. Yeah,
Yeah,
of course.
against a Middlesbrough team, obviously coached by Michael Carrick, but we should win that game. All right, man. It was another great episode. Thank you guys for joining us, and we see you guys next time.
Thank you guys. See, Adam's just working while sick, man. Show
Yeah,
some
man,
love, like, subscribe.
bro. But
No
I
days
felt
off,
like
man.
the last couple of videos, especially on Instagram, got some really good reception.
Yeah, interaction. Yeah.
Yeah,
I just
interaction.
need to talk shit about Arsenal more, apparently.
You said it. You said it. Like, Arsenal fans are always the ones,
Yeah,
the
they
most
gravitate
sensitive
towards
ones.
negativity. All the times I've been praising this team all season,
Right.
nothing.
Nobody saw it.
I
Like,
say
no,
one bad thing, one bad thing.
don't worry. I was gonna say, like, looks like you're trying to make up for all the things you said in the last episode on this episode. Because all of a sudden you started singing their praises, saying, "Oh, Bukayo Saka, he's this, as that." Who else are you talking
Oh,
about?
no, I mean, I just told you they're going to be 13, 14 points off the title. I'm not singing their
Yeah,
praises at all.
man.
They better hope they turn it around. Their season is absolutely heading to the gutter. So they need something. They need a signing. They need something inspiring. And honestly, all this Dominic Solanke stuff, Arsenal, what are you doing? Stop
I'm
it.
hoping they get my boy Shalanke, man. I mean, I'm hoping he gets.
27-year-old having
I
his
hope he
first
gets
good
in, bro.
season.
I hope that.
Really? You think that's who's going to win you the title against Pep? Against Haaland? Stop it, man.
And
Open that purse.
see
Open
any
that
Arsenal
wallet.
fans give up though. You can't do that. You cannot give up. Like, you cannot start saying,
They booed their team at full time today.
"Really?
They booed their team.
They did?"
Yes, at the stadium. Now, maybe they were booing the refs. I don't know, but they have nothing to complain about with the refs. But there was a loud boo at the end of the game. I could hear it from the TV. So, again, people tell me I'm wrong for saying all this negativity, whoop de woo. Listen, man, the proof is in the pudding. Arsenal fans gravitate towards negativity. They seem to not be able to ride the waves of poor form when it comes to this team. And honestly, I think it's because they don't really believe in the manager, man. I
You
don't
think
think they
so?
really believe in him.
Bro, that's
I think
crazy. That's crazy
I,
for
I
them not to
I don't
believe.
think they believe in him. I
But
don't
like you
think they
said, like,
do.
he hasn't shown enough for them to believe either. So, hey, yeah, he hasn't shown enough for them.
Because if you think about it, they took 5 years to get back to where Wenger left them.
Mm.
What are we doing here? You know what I mean? What are you? This is what Wenger was doing. Fake title challenge till January. Finished top four. win an FA Cup here and there. That's what he was doing. It wasn't good enough, apparently. So why is it good enough now? So
Yeah,
again, you want to be a big dog, you gotta go up there and eat at the
bro.
table where
You you
the
have
big
to
boys
win.
eat.
If you're an Arsenal, as an Arsenal fan, whatever, the institution, the front office, the coach, the players, the fans, you have to win. You have to
Yeah,
win. There's no excuse. Like you
yeah,
cannot play like this and have probably your best team in years. Like nobody's gonna remember the team if they don't win.
of
No
course
one
not.
is ever gonna remember them if they don't win. If you look
We've
about,
seen this with we've seen this with Brendan Rodgers, Liverpool. We've seen this
bro,
with
I was
Pochettino,
just gonna
Spurs.
say,
We've seen this with.
who
There's so
knows?
many
Who
teams that
remembers
are
Brendan
notorious
Rodgers?
bridesmaids.
Great team, beautiful football.
Yep,
Suarez,
yep.
Sturridge, Coutinho, Sterling, incredible football. Who remembers them today? They lost.
Nobody. You
Nobody
gotta
cares about
win.
that. Nobody cares about the beautiful football they played because they never won. This is how you cement legacies.
Yep.
Titles. You need to show titles. You need to have titles. If we talk about Mourinho's era, we talk about Ancelotti, we talk about Conte. Nobody talks about Avram Grant. Avram Grant's Chelsea. Nobody. He was all right. He got to the final of the Champions League. I think he lost the title on the final day or something. I can't remember. He was all right. Other teams that finished second, you said Poch. Nobody cares, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody cares.
Poch had a second, third, went to a Champions League final. No one cares, bro. Bridesmaids. You don't tell the bridesmaid happy anniversary every year. No, you tell the bride,
Yeah,
go win. You have to go win. And it's not harsh. This is why we play sports. I'm a Spurs fan. Like
exactly.
if
That's
if we if we start celebrating second place and title
I
challenges,
was just gonna address
I'm sitting at this table. Then I'm the best person to speak on this. I got the most.
I was just gonna address that. Arsenal fans are making it seem like we are being too mean or being too critical. This is what we do. We're not supposed to just hand you the title. No, it doesn't work that way. We did this to United, we did this to Liverpool, we did this to City, we did everybody that wants. You have to end this, right? We're not going to sit here and clap you to the title. No, we have to play our parts, right? I'm a Chelsea fan. I'm not supposed to want you to win. When they act like, oh, we don't like it's
My
just
my thing my thing is if you're gonna lower the standards for your team, we don't have to lower the standards for the sport. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah,
If it's success to you, that is fine. You
yeah,
can. No
yeah,
one's telling you to sack your
yeah,
manager.
yeah,
You
bro.
can keep your
This is
manager.
same
You
thing
can
with what I
reward failure
most
if
care
you
for.
want to, but it's not going to change the way that we
This is how
speak about the
football is.
sport.
You have
We
to win.
only speak about winners.
Nobody
This
cares.
era is going to be completely dominated and dedicated to Manchester City, Kevin De Bruyne, and Rodri, Pep, Klopp, Salah, Van Dijk, because they won.
Yeah,
There's
and
trophies in their
know
cabinet
the
from
funny
this
thing is,
era.
in as much as Liverpool have come second a lot of times, they still won, right?
They
They
won the one
still
that they needed to,
exactly.
and they won every other trophy as
Yeah,
well. They've won the Carabao Cup. They've won the League Cup. I mean, the League Cup is the Carabao Cup. They won the FA Cup. They've won the Champions League. They've been to two Champions League finals in addition to the Champions League that they lost. I mean, that they won. Again, if they never got over the line, then there's no conversation to be had.
nothing, bro.
And
Nothing.
even still, with everything that Liverpool have accomplished, funny enough, people still laugh at them and say, you only won one league title. How much more you that hasn't won anything? You know what I mean? So
So right
again,
now is not is this is not time for them to suck up and cry, and you have to win because it doesn't look good
no
for
one
you.
feels bad for you.
We don't
Believe you
care.
me, no
We
one
don't
feels bad for
care,
you.
bro. We don't. You have to win. You have to win. You have to win something. Like nobody cares about.
There
Like
have
you
been so
said,
many good Leipzig teams. There have been so many good Dortmund teams. There have been even in the French league, um, not Rennes, but Lens have had a good run. There's another team I'm thinking of that had good Listen, no one is going to talk about these guys.
nobody's gonna care.
Like you don't hear anybody saying, "Oh, remember that Dortmund team that got second and lost in the Champions League final?" No
Nobody.
one cares. We just call it a Farmers League, and if we say the same team wins it every year,
Nobody.
because the story of second place is not interesting. It's just not. It just isn't. So again, Arsenal, you've had one title challenge. You came into this league season as arguably the second best squad and possibly one of the best 11s in the league. You got to do something. Your closest challengers lost a lot of key players, and a lot of the replacements that they brought in are not up to par. They also had a crazy stumble going 1 win in 6 games, which is uncharacteristic of a City team. You have to take advantage of that. That's going to be the story of the season. At the end of the year, no one's going to say, "Oh, but they're only 23." But you told us that this is who they are. We're
Yo,
going to judge them based on that level. It's just that simple.
yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely, bro. We're supposed to end the episode like two couple
No,
minutes
I didn't
ago.
want to end on positivity for Arsenal. Hold that.
Yeah, you had the man. You guys have to win. Obviously, you're not winning, so we're gonna be here to laugh at you again. But it's not looking good, man. It's not looking good for. And Ateta is going to be. I think it's going to be really difficult for Arsenal because he has done very well for them to not get sacked, and I just feel like he's just going to put them in this difficult situation because they can't sack him now because
Mm-hmm.
obviously he's brought them far past where they should be. At the same time, they need to win. So, hey, I mean, it's not
I
my
mean, it's in my opinion, it's just like the Brendan Rodgers situation. I think that's probably been the best comparison because you wouldn't have really begrudged Liverpool if they didn't sack Brendan because he was in and around contention for the title. They were at least bare minimum in the Champions League. He created a very good team. They had an identity. He wasn't a bad manager. And honestly, when he came back to Leicester, you saw he's not a bad manager, right? He's got some pedigree. But they just knew when a guy like Klopp comes available, that's that next level. And I think with Arsenal, you can see like if a manager of like incredible pedigree is to come available, I think they have to explore it. They have
But
to.
who though? Who's
That's what I'm
incredible
saying. Like
right now? There's no one. Like because they
right
can't.
now, there's a lot of guys that are building that case,
Yeah.
but
Because right now
again, I
it's
look
gonna
at a
be
guy
so
like
difficult for them because they will look at that manager and say, "I don't think he's better than Teta." That's what they'll say. They might not be right, but that's what they'll say. They'll say, "I
but
don't think."
what they need to be looking at is not better than Arteta, but better than Pep. That's what you need to be looking out for. I
Bro,
mean, if we're being
who's
realistic,
better
right?
than Pep? Who?
You you don't need to be better than Pep, but you need to have the ability to be better than Pep, right? So, like for example, Klopp isn't better than Pep. He doesn't even sit next to his table, but he won one, right? So if you Tuchel isn't better than Pep, he got something off him though. You know what I mean? So you need to find a manager that has the ability to, in the words of Denzel, he needs to be able to leave with something. You got to be able to leave with something, right? So I'm looking out there, and yeah, there's no names that are like just glaring, like just
I'm
loud,
saying
right?
they are in such a difficult situation right now
Mm-hmm.
because there's no one right now that will jump out at you and you say, "Oh, I think it's a good decision." I mean, later on it might be, but in the moment,
Right.
there's nobody you're gonna say, "I think this guy's better than Ateta." They're so I don't think they will.
I think you can look at a guy like Simeone, right? Simeone is probably the biggest manager out there right now that you can say this guy has the cachet, this guy has the resume to be able to challenge the
But
best of
they're
the
not gonna
best.
want a manager like that because he doesn't play the way they want to play. So
Yeah,
man,
and so this is where it becomes and again, I don't think Arteta's job should be on the line anytime soon. I want to
no,
just
it's
get that
not.
clear.
It's not on the line.
But
And
I'm saying if you get the opportunity to pull the trigger on a coach that can move your project to, and I even hate saying the word project because honestly, guys like Emery, guys like Ange, even a guy like Klopp are proving that this word project is for losers. I'm sorry, projects are for losers. Projects are for guys that cannot win, right? Because Klopp last season we said Liverpool's era is done. That golden era are finished. They can't challenge anymore. They need to retool the squad, right? In one summer, in 3 transfers, they're back at the top of the league. It doesn't take another 2, 3 year project to retool the squad. Pep has changed his squad 3 or 4 times since he's been at City, and there's a benchmark for winning. You look at a guy like Emery coming into Villa. There's no project to get them out of relegation into the top half of the table. He's now in European places.
bro,
So
you make that sound so. As a Chelsea fan, that scares me, man.
it, and that's why I said in my opinion, right, I'm looking back at managers that have been successful. How many of them, and you're very good at this because you're good at trivia. You always whoop my ass every week. But think about how many managers have come into a situation and taken 3, 4 years to find success that have ultimately found success. How many can you think of?
There's not been very many.
There's not been very many.
There's
The
not.
closest I can think of is probably Klopp, but even then,
Yeah,
he went to finals in like his very first
yeah,
like
yeah,
season,
yeah, yeah.
and then
It,
top 4 was the bare minimum for him, right? And and even then, you don't see him as someone that's uberly successful, right? Everyone else that has had that level of success
it came
is
in
instantaneous.
instantaneous, like the
Ancelotti
same.
comes in, hey, no, I need 2 windows in my own squad. He's just winning. And by winning, I don't mean like you have to win trophies, but in terms of overperforming the expectations for what you were hired for. Because for someone like Emery, you're not going to judge him by trophies at Villa. But someone else goes into Villa and you're like, oh, look at the Villa project. They finished 17th, and next year they're going to be 13th. And before you know it, they'll be in the top half of the table. No, he's just already at the top of the table. You know what I mean? Like,
That's
it's just, do
crazy to
you have
think
a
about,
system
bro.
that works or not?
That's crazy to think about. Like for you to point that out that way, because I feel like in the last couple of years we've been too the word project. Everybody's been, I'm
They've been
like,
abusing it.
yeah, like everybody's trying to have a project now, and yeah, that's so true.
Because really the biggest example for patience and trust in the process is this guy, Arteta. If he ends this season with no trophies, I think that again, just like we were saying, Chelsea is going to be a deterrent to teams going to go buy these young players before they have the chance to go prove themselves elsewhere. I think Arteta is going to be a deterrent to teams trusting processes that don't immediately show results or the ability to win. Because again, this guy is going on year 5, and you know what I mean. Like, there's no success, objectively speaking. There's an FA Cup. There's, I think, 2 Community Shields. Right? He's won 2 Community Shields. Okay, in 5 years, is that, you know what I mean? Is that memorable success? No. So what is the process really? Oh, we have a process that allows us to play exciting football and be at the top of the table. Sold a Villa in 1 window.
And then they start coming up with things like, oh, we're more sustainable. We we follow the rules. The financial, we're the best run team.
Mind you, Arsenal are in FFP trouble as well. They
Yeah,
need to sell to
yeah, that's
buy
the thing.
because they haven't sold in all of this. So again, I think, and I've maintained this, a process is only for losers. Conte came into Spurs, and in his first season he got top 4. In his first half season he got top 4. There's no process, man. The next season he stunk. Get him out. And people, oh, you need continuity, this and that. Ten Hag came in first season, a cup and top 3 finish. He's stinking now. Get him out. So this whole like process thing, every season is going to be different. No matter what your process is, every season is going to be different.
And you know
So
what? I just remembered. We told Arsenal fans last season that if you don't win it, then it'll become harder. They thought we were joking, right?
well, the argument was they said they would get better too. And fair enough. Like, you got young players, you're going to spend more. And they did. But you never account for the fact that you can always spend wrong. Listen, when Spurs went an entire window without like refreshing the squad, the idea was that when we do spend, oh boy, you niggas are in trouble. Oh, you're in trouble. We went and spent, who did we get? Ndombele, Lo Celso, 2 big flops at the time with crazy money. Project is over. So again, you spending, you coming back the next year with young players doesn't guarantee that you're going to be better than you were the year before. You have to. And that's why I said last season, most Arsenal fans gave the team the excuse of this. We weren't expected to be here. That's the wrong mentality. You can't take any of these things for granted. It's a 38-game season. Anything can happen. This season, they've even been semi-fortunate with injuries. Imagine next season, 2 key players get injured. Now you're going to 6th season, and then listen, you
You
cannot
don't know
take
what's
any
gonna happen. You
single.
don't know what's gonna happen. You don't know. In as much
You
as you
just
can
don't.
say, "Oh yeah, we'll get this guy. We're waiting for," you do not know. You can't tell. So the best time is now. Like you don't know. That's so
Liverpool lost the league title because the ball was 0.1.2 inches being away from, because if they win that game against City, they win the league. Because they didn't lose a game from then to the end of the season. They drew a few, but that was pretty much
yeah,
the game, points wise, that flipped the title. You don't know. You can hit the bar. Like anything can happen.
bro.
Sports are unpredictable. So
Look at what happened to Chelsea. Who would have thought in a million years that a war between so and so and so? But you do not know. You don't know. You just don't know. City are right now the best team in the world. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Nobody. We can sit here.
115 charges can come down. They can immediately get points deducted.
We
Pep
can
can be
sit
out.
here and predict.
Anything can happen.
We can say, oh, next season this coach is going to be available. We'll get this coach. This player is going to be better. How do you know? How can you
You
tell?
don't. Look at Martinelli now. He's regressed. The idea would be, oh, he scored 13, however many goals he scored last season, right? Oh, he's going to kick on. He's going to be better. You don't know that. We've seen flops in this league. Dele Alli. Who would have thought that from being priced at 100 million to Real Madrid, he would be going to Everton and we would be paying them to take him? Who would have thought?
And as another person though, Callum Hudson-Odoi, we rejected 70 million from Bayern.
From Bayern.
You know how
Who would
much
have thought that he would be in Nottingham Forest fighting to get it? Listen, people think, and a lot of Arsenal fans were acting like they haven't been watching this league for years. This league, the reason why we love this league is because you truly do not know.
You don't know.
So this idea of a process that's supposed to guarantee you trophies and just make you successful over a certain span of time, to me, that's just an excuse for people who don't know how to win. Because when you're a winner, you just win. You just win. It's just that simple. Most people don't need 2-3 years to win the Premier League. Most managers don't. As a matter of fact, I don't know of that. The only person I can think of is Klopp. That's the only person that took 2 or 3 years to win the league and eventually won it. He's the only one. Everybody else, they come in. Maybe Sir Alex Ferguson, right? But that was a completely different era.
Yeah.
He came in, obviously, kind of like similar to and Arteta, like maybe not as much pedigree, even though he had actually won elsewhere. But again, that's a completely different level we're talking about here. So so again, the arrogance and thinking that you'll always be up there on the table, you'll always be competing. I think the realization that should be going through many Arsenal fans' minds now is maybe we need to scale it back a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to stop being so arrogant. Maybe we need to realize that we haven't indeed accomplished anything. And maybe we need to understand that sports are unpredictable and anything can happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a good way to end it now.
Yeah. On that note,